just consistency and just stay with it, right? And I know at the beginning it feels like, oh my gosh, everything's ending or whatever. But it's like that through whether you're selling $500 a month or $10,000 a month or $500,000 a month. There's always those bumps. Just keep working through it. Ask people for help. That's how we learn through YouTube and groups like I think that you have now.
What's up, guys? I'm here with Marcus, who's done 2.8 million this year with a combination of retail arbitrage and wholesale selling on Amazon. In this video, we're going to break down exactly how he did it. Welcome to the pod, Marcus.
Thank you.
It's been a while since I hit the intro, so I'm going to hit the intro for the Amazon Savages podcast.
Welcome to the Amazon Savages podcast. Hear the stories of Amazon sellers crushing it in the game and keep up with the latest strategies that are working. Sit back, relax, and remember, if you truly try and work really hard, you will make a ridiculous amount of money selling on Amazon.
But you actually have to try, and Marcus surely has tried. It was actually super difficult to get him on the pod. I asked him. Most people are ready within a week. I think you said like a month later. So
yeah,
you're out here grinding in Q4. I think you're going to go to the warehouse afterwards. So if you want to break down like how you got started, was it retail arbitrage? Was it booked? Whatever it was. And then how'd you scale up to the point of doing
so we started at the beginning of 2019 with retail arbitrage. It was Christmas break. I was on Christmas break from working, and I saw Scott Zilke, Bearded Picker. Anybody that's been around for 5-6 years know he was a prime player like 5-6 years ago.
Yep.
He doesn't really do anything anymore now.
He comments on my YouTube videos.
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
Oh, so
he's always on.
I know they have like a live podcast like once or twice a week, and I'll catch parts of it. But he's talked about how he's made like $2,000 or $3,000 in 24 hours. I'm like, that's the most bogus crap ever.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to prove it wrong. Went to Walmart, and actually about to be the season now. But they had a lot of the Christmas decorations on clearance. We bought like 3 to 5 of them. We're like, I'm going to throw $50 at the wall, see what happens. Sent them into Amazon. Sure enough, we bought like a $4 item. And so like $28 a couple days later.
Nice.
Like, what the heck? And then we put a little bit more money into it, And then June of 2019, so after 6 months of really kind of exploring, we decided to put our final investment in, which was another like $5,000-$6,000. So got to about $10,000. Did all RA, a lot of GameStops is where we kind of figured out like, oh wait, it can't be this easy. And then 2021, at the January 2021, I quit my full-time job. So now it's our sole source income. I actually gave my company like 4 months notice. I'm like, I'm quitting, guys. I was kind of hoping they would just go ahead and kick me out the door so I could hit the Q4 of 2020 real hard. But they wanted me to stick around. So
nice. What advice would you have for a complete beginner who wants to get into retail arbitrage? Would you say go hit the clearance section of Marshalls or TJ Maxx, or would you say go to GameStop, Walmart, Target? Like what store should they start with?
Yeah, I mean, the most thing is getting started. You hear about people that's like learning and scared to start for like weeks or months. And the thing is just to get started, right? Hitting clearance is definitely a good start, right? Because then you can find what you're ungated in, what things you're ungated in. But to really be able to scale, you're going to have to search outside the clearance racks. But so the first year or so, we did mostly GameStops, and we would go into a GameStop and hit their clearance rack. We would find some stuff that was regular priced, but we would go into a GameStop, spend $80 to $150 a GameStop, make like 60, 75% ROI on it. So every GameStop we knew we'd make like $100, give or take.
Nice.
And then we'd travel like 3-4 hours, go to Oklahoma City, Kansas City, St. Louis, hit like 10, 20 GameStops, come home.
So you're just hitting one store. Like, so do you recommend like figuring out one store and then just like abusing that?
Yeah. It's so you're going to be a lot better at finding a certain niche that you're really good at. So that's one store, one category. Is what I would always, because if you go into GameStop, spend 15 minutes at GameStop, and then you go to Marshalls and spend 15 minutes, then you do Ross 15 minutes, you could strike out at all those places, and all of a sudden you just spent a couple hours because you're traveling back and forth and not find anything. Where like right now our RA is Walmart. I can go into a Walmart, spend anywhere between 30 minutes and an hour and a half go to the toy section, spend between $600 to $3,000, 50% ROI, and you just go to Walmart, right? Because I know that niche. Now, if somebody's like, hey, to go to grocery or go to office supplies, electronics, I'd struggle because I don't know those. We've kind of sold some off and on over the 5 years, but toys, I can go in there. I'm like, yep, I know that sells. That's a $5 toy. It sells for $20, and you just pick it like that because you know what sells, the brands.
Yeah. If you're going to go after the non-clearance sections, what advice would you have for people? Because sometimes I've messed around with RA a little bit, and I'm coming from the book world. Like, I teach people how to sell books on Amazon, and my main advice is like, hit up all the thrift stores, scan everything, scan the nonfiction, find out what thrift stores are good, find out when they restock. That's the most important thing you can do. Try to get backroom access, email all the libraries, try to help the library set up the library sale so you get fresh inventory. But when I've done my limited amount of retail arbitrage, I've found that if I go to Marshall's and I don't scan the clearance, I have a much lower success rate than if I just look for those red tags. That actually TJ Maxx has the red tags for clearance. So when you're going after a non-clearance aisle, it can be kind of disheartening not finding anything. What advice would you have for people?
And that is a good point too, right? So if you have a clearance aisle, and let's just say you have a brand, you're more like Legos, right? Legos, you find that on clearance, 75% off, 50% off. 90% of the time, it's going to be worth it.
Okay.
Where Legos, you may have like a 5% or 10%. If you're scanning all the Walmart aisle where they've got hundreds of Legos, you might find 2 or 3. But the difference is now everybody in the 6,000 Walmart stores are looking for those Legos that are 75% off, and they're likely to drop. Where the Legos that you're finding on the shelf that are maybe discontinued, but they haven't clearanced out yet, there's way less competition on that stuff. So those prices will typically hold. And additionally, you can go in there store after store. If you do like traveling RA, you go after store and store and buy those where instead of a one and done. So that's one thing we focused to is so a couple years ago, we had every ASIN we sold approximately 4 to 5 times over the year. So it would we'd find an ASIN that was profitable and we'd sell it 4 or 5 times over the year. This year we are at like 26 because we're focusing on stuff that I very rarely scan the clearance now because I know if I'm bringing 3 or 4 home, we got to deal with stickers and it's a high chance we'll never find it again. So here we are spending all this time for maybe $5 or $10 profit, where I can go to a Walmart and pull an action figure off that's $20, make $10 on it, and then I find it at 10 different stores, and then I can make $100 off of 10 action figures.
You said you have 26 ASINs now? That's it?
How many ASIN? Oh, no, we are down to about 1,800 ASINs.
Okay,
but
gotcha.
each ASIN we sell 26 times. Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, we're at like 1,800 ASINs. We did close a lot in 2022, so we actually peaked over 3,000 ASINs with clothes, buying from Kohl's online and like Nike and other brands. Just on
nice. What have you noticed with gating this year? I know this year was a big year for gating different brands.
Yes.
I'm not sure if you're too in touch. I know you're in the Hustle Buddies Facebook community. How are new sellers doing with getting ungated in different brands?
Honestly, I don't know. I do know if you're already ungated in something, make sure you sell it. So we have sold over $10 million on Amazon. We're going to sell over $3 million this year. And we got gated on like almost a ton of the beauty because those beauty gatings came out a couple months ago and we got hit with almost all of them. And then now about a month ago, a lot of the toy stuff got gated. We were completely safe on that because we, like Mattel, we sell thousands and thousands of units of Mattel every month. So we didn't get ungated that. So I would say if there's something that you're already ungated, make sure you sell it so you don't lose it. As far as new sellers, what we did was we just went to Walmart and scanned and found stuff that we were ungated. After a couple months, we got ungated with more, like they would just say, oh, okay, you're doing good. You can get ungated more stuff. I don't know if it's still like that. But then you also do invoices. Make sure it's something that you are able to get ungated in with invoices, because I hear some people are like completely red restricted from Legos. So it does no good getting a Lego invoice if they don't even accept the invoice.
Right. I will say I put together this list of 500 ASINs. ChatGPT helped me make it. If you guys look here, I'll link this below, but basically you can just get this and copy and paste them into Seller Central, or if you're a go-to lister user, use the bulk upload feature and you can get auto-ungated or just quickly apply. And I think during Q4, it's a little bit harder to get ungated. So I think the ASINs in the middle of this list potentially get you ungated faster, but I'm doing some research now, make this list better as time goes on. But
and that's actually big. So we actually did that in 2019, 2020. I don't know if you're the one that did it or somebody else was having the Facebook group that did it. But if you get ungated with a bunch of stuff like that, then you can sell more stuff. But then also Amazon's like, hey, they can already sell this much. Let's go ahead and give them this. So even though if you don't get auto ungated on something one day, like the next month, if you just keep building and get ungated more and more stuff, you may be able to get another one. I think one of our first auto ungates was like Play-Doh. We're like, oh, wow, we can actually do something with that after a month of selling.
Because I feel like this is like the first Q4 where I really did a good job of stocking up on everything. What's kind of your rules for Q4 in terms of FBA? And what's your philosophy during December? Are you still sending big shipments in? Are you preparing for Q1? Are you excited for January?
Yeah,
talk a little bit about that.
So we are 100% FBM or FBA. We have not did one FBM ever. In fact, about 6 months ago, no, it's probably a year ago now, one of our VAs created a listing FBM and we sold it. And we're like, what the heck? I had to cancel it. So the only ever FBM order we've ever had was canceled because it was something we sent to the FBA. We didn't have it in stock. So yes, we are still doing FBA. We still are sending in stuff. Now, this is the first year where we've did more wholesale than RA. And I had no idea the velocity that Q4 has. This has definitely been eye-opening. Like when you're doing RA, right, you just send in what you have. So if you have 10 of this action figure, you sell it and you don't really know, right? But stuff that we were selling like 80 to 100 times a month, just like 2 months ago, we're selling like 30 or 40 times a day. It's ridiculous. It's like, holy cow. So we're out of stock on most of the stuff. But I had no idea just how much velocity there actually was. And if you're RA, which RA is good too, because you can get your product a lot quicker and you can also find the hot products and you get higher ROI. But yeah, and we're still sending in. We've got 2 pallets yesterday and we got 8 pallets coming Monday of wholesale stuff. And we're working on January numbers now.
Nice. How do you usually do in January?
January normally, without looking at the numbers, January I think is our 3rd best month after November and December.
Yeah. Is it because everyone's out of stock on everything? And if you keep sending stuff in, it's kind of like
I think so. I think because like a $12 toy right now is maybe selling for $25 and it takes a while for the supply to catch back up. So you're selling for more. Additionally, there's a lot of clearance in January, which definitely improves profitability.
Yep. What about your wholesale business? How are you landing these suppliers? You going for distributors? You going brand direct?
So we've had a couple brand directs. We have a couple of distributors. The thing that I've do is if you find like a toy or whatever, if you look on the packaging, a lot of times it will say distributed by. And that's how we've actually found a couple of our distributors. The other times you just go through and just search like who is the distributor for LOL Surprise or whatever. And then it takes like an hour or two finding something and going that way. Some are really horrible. Some of them are like way expensive shipping because we're in Kansas in the middle of the country, and almost all the distributors are in. The good ones are on the West Coast or East Coast because then that way the ports. So like sometimes it's like $2 or $3 per unit for shipping, and we just can't deal with those. We have to find somebody that does.
Out of your best suppliers, how's that relationship look? Are you on a text basis with them? Are you emailing with them? Is it a big company? Have you negotiated discounts?
So we typically don't get discounts. I have like our third supplier. I can reach out to them and say, hey, I'll buy these, and it's a wholesaler that I don't typically does. But hey, I'll buy like 10,000 or 15,000 of these products. I'll just completely buy you out if I can get like a 10 or 20% discount. And typically they take it up on me. The other ones are large enough where I can ask. I ask them occasionally, and they typically are like, no, if you don't, we have like, he told me the amount of semi trucks they have every week, and it's like 50 semi trucks, 70 semi trucks. My little 5 or 8 pallets every 2 weeks that doesn't even show up on their radar. So typically those I don't get discounts from.
Mm-hmm. You paying credit card on all those or
wires?
Wires.
We don't have credit card. They charge a 30% wiring fee, so there goes the points. Additionally,
you're saying they charge a 3% credit card fee?
Yep. Yeah. 2 to 3%. So it negates all the points right there.
Yeah. If you're good at rewarding, if you're good at redeeming points, you can probably get 2, 3, maybe a little bit more percent if you're savvy with it. But I guess a benefit would be, number one, you could charge back if you ever got screwed over. And number two, or obviously points, number two. And then number three, it could really increase cash flow because you're paying, the credit card, and if you don't have to pay it off for another 30 or 40 days, then your cash flow is kind of increased.
Yeah. And so the other 2 reasons, so we've never did credit card, or we do credit cards, but we only spend up to what we have in the bank. So we've never ran on credit. We've never taken a loan out. We've just ran with that $10,000 and just built from there. Mm-hmm. And then also when I was doing some of the smaller orders on credit cards, like the 7 or 8,000 or 15,000, it was locking up our credit cards or making them, because once they ship it, it takes like a week to come in, right? Because it's just pending because they're building the shipment and then they're shipping it. So it like filled up our credit cards. So then when I wanted to go to Walmart, our credit cards are nearly maxed out.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. And some of our last orders are like 30 to 45,000, and we don't have a credit card that has that large of a limit.
Yeah. You'd be surprised, man. There's really interesting stuff with credit. I'm learning a lot about it right now, but I'm having Taylor from Arbitrage Card help me out, and my credit score has gone up like 30 points.
Nice.
And I didn't realize that this is like, credit 101. I knew this years ago, but I just forgot it, that if you sit on personal balances, it affects your credit score. But if you sit on business balances on business cards, it doesn't. So you can have like a $40,000 balance on a card, and theoretically maybe wait 1 month to pay the interest and pay whatever interest that would be, a few thousand, and just make sure to keep your personal credit cards paid down, and your credit score will remain high, and you'll still be able to apply for more credit cards in the future. So I'm learning about that. Are you a Profit First fan?
Profit First. I've heard of it. I don't know what that is.
It's a book about like, you should always pull your profit first, and they recommend
yeah. There's some people talking about that.
So like, let's just say you get $100K paid out from Amazon. You should take $3K and just put it in the profit bank. Don't touch it. And then the other $97K gets distributed in different buckets as well. But you do have one bucket for inventory purchases. And if you are going to use credit cards, never use more than what you have in the bank. And I think that's just like common sense, but a lot of people learn the hard way. They're like, oh, this is great ROI. My Amazon account's good. And then maybe it's not great ROI. Maybe their Amazon account has issues or something happens. So I think it's definitely important to be patient in this business. Don't be greedy, and don't spend more than you have. But speaking of account issues, have you ever had account issues with all the Section 3s going on? Have you dealt with anything?
No. There's a lot of people that said it's just when, not if, right? And I don't look forward to that day. So far, not. We've had probably now 10 or 15 inauthentic claims that we've always been able to fight with Target receipts, Walmart receipts, Wholesale. Although I have a couple Wholesale that I sent my Wholesale invoices in, they're like, rejected. So I got to work on that. That's a new thing. IP claims, and it'll fight those. The only ones that we've had issue with is the IP claim without a test buy. I think we're 0 for 3 on those, but so we're really cautious too. Like if the brand is selling on it, we rarely sell on it unless we already know it's a brand that we can compete with. Or if there's only one seller, like Amazon's only seller, then we try to avoid it. And we don't do a lot of the like small brand, like makeup type stuff that a lot of people get IP claims on. So we try to be very careful. If somebody sends us a letter saying, "Hey, get off this listing," 90% of the time we get off the listing because it's not worth the risk. So
interesting. Yeah, as I evolve in the Amazon game, like now I know people who are the brand owners and who are kicking people off the listing. And I went to AMZ United and Pattern was there. They're one of the biggest Amazon sellers that represents many brands. And their tactics are scare tactics, send out the voids letters, get people kicked off. And a lot of times it's just like scare tactics. And other times there might actually be like a legit thing. And Amazon's doing a good job of getting all the counterfeits out of the market. So if you're buying from a third-party seller on Temu or Walmart, you could be buying a counterfeit item, And so then you're screwed if you get a test counterfeit buy and you can't provide proper invoices. That's why it's important to buy your products from places that the invoices hold up. So interesting times we live in, but that's good that you haven't dealt with any of that yet.
Yeah, and most of the voids letters, like you said, they're just fake, right? They're just scare tactics. But my philosophy from really once we started this and knew it was viable, the only thing that's going to stop me from making decent money is if something happens to my Amazon account, right? So how can I make sure that I'm just going to be really careful? $100, $500 is not okay. I don't make $500 on that item anymore because I'm not going to sell it, but I can make 30 or 40,000 on the other stuff. So that's been my philosophy.
Yep. Do you know what your profit margin is generally? 10%?
Yeah, it depends. The beginning of this year, it's been pretty rough. I think right now we're shooting between 10 and 12. I took a little bit of a break. I don't know how much you saw on that post. I'll probably put it in your group too. But like for a year and a half, I wasn't working much and we had a bunch of employees. So it dipped down to like 6 to 9% then. But we're probably 10 to 12. Inventory Lab is like completely broken right now as far as like the profitability reports. So for the last month and a half, I've been flying pretty much blind until like 2 weeks after it all gets reconciled.
Yeah, Go-To Lister's coming out with inventory reports soon. If you guys don't have Go-To Lister, check it out.
Attention Amazon FBA booksellers. I used to hate listing books on Amazon because of how long it took, but Go-To Lister has fixed that. Go-To Lister allows me to scan, label, and ship 100 plus books per hour. It's the fastest listing software that exists for Amazon sellers. Listing fast allows me to spend more time finding profitable inventory rather than listing all day. One of the best things about Go-To Listers are intelligent pricing feature that automatically prices your faster selling items at higher prices. Click the link below to give Go-To Lister a free trial for 14 days.
So we've actually been working on net profit reports all year. It's a big goal of ours to have that. But because of the shipping changes they had, we had to stop making that. And now we're, getting ready for the API changes coming up here in December. But we will have end of the year profit reports very, very soon. But yeah, it's nice being able to look at one dashboard and see exactly how much you're making. Going into 2025, do you have a strategy each year? There's a Pareto principle that 20% of your efforts result in 80% of the reward, whether it's in sports, business, personal relationships. In your Amazon business, do you have a refinement process where you're okay, these 20% of our ASINs are giving us 80% of our profit and we're going to dial in on that? Or do you just kind of shoot from the hip, or what's kind of your mentality with that each year?
I love that principle. Once I found that out a few years ago, I'm like, oh, that's amazing. So every 2 weeks, I go through Inventory Lab. I'm sure yours has it too. I look at our top about 10% of ASINs and make sure we restock it. I think that's one reason why we've did a lot better over the last couple of months, because I've been really focusing on that.
Are you looking at ROI? Are you looking at just sales volume? What are you looking at there?
Profit, straight up profit. So if we have 30 days of inventory, I know we don't need to restock it. If we're out or less than 30 days of inventory, I'll try to restock it. So that's helped a lot. Kept, like you said, the top 10, 20% of ASINs. I try to restock. That's another reason why we have like 26 units sold per ASIN this year, because we're trying to restock our best ASINs. And then the bottom ones are more likely to fall off because we don't see them as often. We have a VA that sources it, but I'm not going through every single one and like, okay, I need to restock this. I need to restock this.
Gotcha. So what do your VAs do exactly for your business?
So we have like 6 VAs now, 5 VAs. One of them is like our manager, and she does all the excess, aged, and kind of some like accounting data type stuff. We have one that's a sourcing one that honestly, there are some days that she does better sourcing than I do. When we were doing a lot of clothes, I would get on there and spend a couple thousand in like an hour or two. And even now, so about 6 months a year ago, I was working like 60 to 80 hours a week. But with doing the top 10% of ASINs, and then her sourcing, because you just do like AMZ analyzer or something that gives you a big long wholesale list, and they pick out the best ones. We'll go through it. There have been weekends where I've worked like 10 or 15 hours and I spend like 60 grand, 70 grand, because she is just goes through it all and it's crazy. So that's that one. One is Walmart. We've tried Walmart, and we're selling like 10 to 20 grand on Walmart every week, every month. But the issue with Walmart is it takes away from our Amazon business, and it's way different processes. I don't know have you sold any Walmart?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So it's really the processes that we have for Amazon to make Amazon smooth as far as processing and prepping and shipping and stuff. Walmart's a lot different. So it's hard to do both in a small area. But one does Walmart sourcing and making listings. The other one does ads, campaigns on Amazon, and he helps with excess. And then he also like improves listings. Like sometimes they won't have descriptions, or they're missing the age range or something, so it's harder for it to find and search, and he'll fix that stuff.
Interesting. So are you creating listings on Amazon, or are you just hopping on listings and optimizing?
We're hopping on.
What's the PP? Are you sure you're running PPC? What's your strategy with that as a reseller with PPC?
So we've always had for like 4 or 5 years where we've had like 2 cents on just everything. What we've started doing and trialing right now is everything that has more than 90 days of inventory. So let's say we have 30 and we've only sold 5 in the last 30 days, right? We'll throw all that stuff in 2 PPCs. One that's like 2 cents and it's like unlimited budget, and the other one is like 4 or 5 cents. And it has somewhat limited budget. And then our VA that tracks all that stuff, like if one spends like $10 and gets 1 sale, right, and it's like a 30 ACOS or a 10 ACOS, he'll just disable that one ASIN and just let the other ones run. So that's one thing I just showed in the group a couple days ago, is we've sold like $40,000 through ads this month so far, and our ACOS is like 2 to 3%, and all that stuff is above 90 days. Right.
Are you doing like automatic or manual campaigns? Is it all your VA doing it?
It's all automatic as far as the search terms. Amazon, it's the all automatic.
Okay.
I'll just put the list of use inventory lab and divide the on hand inventory divided by the sales in the last 30 days. That will get me the months of inventory. Anything above 3 or higher, I throw into that campaign just through ASIN list.
Interesting.
Yeah,
that's cool. Well, sweet. I appreciate you coming on, Marcus. And do you have any last words for the audience in terms of, getting success on Amazon?
No, just consistency and just stay with it. Right. There's going to be bumps and through the process. And I know at the beginning, it feels like, oh my gosh, everything's ending or whatever, but it's like that through whether you're selling $500 a month or $10,000 a month or $500,000 a month. There's always those bumps. So actually, if you have them earlier on, it's kind of nice because you're risking less, right? If you send five of an ASIN in and it gets CPC'd or something happens to the listing, you might be out $25. Whereas then you can kind of know how to deal with it or the risk. Whereas if you're sending like 50 or 100 in, then you could be out a lot more and like, oh no, and then it'd be an issue. So just keep working through it and look out and ask people for help. That's how we learn, through YouTube and groups like I think that you have now.
Yep. 100%. Well, thanks for coming on. If people got questions, can they join the Hustle Buddies community and tag you and ask you a question?
Yeah, I think you've got your own Facebook group though. You sent, right?
Yeah, I got GoToLister community. If they're in GoToLister, they'll get that. GoToLister is good for all products on Amazon, not just books. It's good for Nike. It's good for anything that's on Amazon. So wholesale, online arbitrage. And then I also have a selling books on Amazon Facebook group. So I'll link all the Facebook groups that I have and your Hustle
the
Buddies.
one you invited me to, I'll put my little description that I put in the Hustle Buddies in there. And then it's just all on one group and one area instead of people just start randomly tagging me in the Hustle Buddies group.
Cool. Sounds good.
Perfect. Thank you,
all
sir.
Right.
Have a good one.
Hey, Marcus. Bye.
Bye.